Hey everybody, Josh here with Desert Garden Homestead. It is a beautiful day here in the Sonoran Desert. It's almost mid-April. I think it's the 14th today of April. And so April is the time of year that I love to go around and just do a lot of propagation via air layering. And so a lot of the fruit trees, especially this one behind me, this is a gold nugget loquat. The loquats are very receptive to air layers versus cuttings, as well as a lot of other trees such as citrus and other kinds of just various odds and ends that I really like to propagate out. And so I just wanted to bring you with me today. I just wanted to show you the technique that I use to air layer. Air layering is very simple to do once you get the hang of it. And it's just an easy way to make all kinds of free fruit trees to barter or trade or to sell or just to propagate out into other parts of your landscape. And so I just wanted to show you exactly how I do it and let you see it firsthand. And so if you want to stick with me, we'll go ahead and get started. So to start off with your list of items needed, you're going to need some peat moss or coco coir, and this will be your medium that you would use to root in. So just make sure it's fully saturated. Sometimes it can take a while if it hasn't been exposed to water and it becomes hydrophobic. So just make sure your medium is well saturated. I use quite a bit, so I've got mine in a 5-gallon bucket. I'll probably need quite a bit more than this. And your other items for necessity would be aluminum foil. You'll need some black mechanical tape, a sharp knife, a paintbrush, some Ziploc bags, as well as some pruning shears. So if you have these items, you'll be in good shape. Let's get started. So I'm underneath my Vista White Loquat. This is an excellent variety of loquat that I absolutely love. And I want to go ahead and start out with this one because it's at the end of the hedgerow. And so being in the desert, the main issue that we face here that will kill an air layer is for the medium to dry out. And so it is kind of a pain, especially if you have, 50 to 100 air layers going at any given point, to go around and make sure that you rehydrate the medium. So I don't do that. I forego that step. If you only have a couple, that would be pretty easy to do. But in my case, what I try to do to mitigate that issue is I always try to propagate on the north side of the tree in a shady spot, and that'll just help the medium stay a little bit cooler and a little bit moist for a longer period of time. So I would never do an air layer with southern exposure. Here I am on the north part of this tree, and so I'll find some branches in here that are viable candidates to air layer, which I do have a few here. And now that I've identified some branches that look like very good possible candidates for air layer, one thing I like to do is I try to find branches that I would not mind to be pruned out. So in this case, I have a number of various branches coming from one main branch, and so I wouldn't mind losing any of these, especially this one right here. So this is a perfect candidate to air layer, and it does not have any fruit growing on it currently, which is another plus. So I might end up air layering just a couple of these branches here and just kind of thin down this multi-branched and just help the other two branches to encourage them to grow out a little bit more. So that's another consideration to take into mind. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start with this one. Okay, so I'm ready to make my cut. Now when making the cut, I just need to keep in mind that the Ziploc baggie is going to take up some space. So I wouldn't want to cut near the bottom here where it attaches to the main branch. So I really want to kind of cut up about midway and just leave enough room for the Ziploc bag. So I think right about here, right into the middle of this branch is going to be a fine place to start. I'm going to make a cut about an inch in length. Really the length's not too critical, but I usually go for about an inch to an inch and a half. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do it between two nodes So if you can see, there's a node here, there's a node here, there's a node here, and a node here. So I just want to have a node right above and right below, if at all possible, because the nodes are typically where roots would come from. And so once I put some rooting hormone on it, it'll just give it a better success rate to have some nodes right above and below. And so I'm going to make my first little incision. I'm just more or less scoring around the branch with the knife, getting into the bark all the way down to the inner wood. I'm just going to do that on both the upper and lower portion. Just be careful with your fingers. I do recommend to use a very sharp knife. This is a brand new blade within this little box knife. Box knives work fine. Grafting knives work well. Anything that's sharp will do just fine, no problem. And then once I've scored all the way around it, what I do is I just start from the bottom, and I'll just cut right up into the center of this. And then once I've cut the center, you should just be able to peel it away, just like so. And so once I've got the bark peeled away, there is still some cambium layer on here. It's that really light green film, and so you need to scrape that off, or else the branch has a chance to heal itself, and then your air layer will not take. So what you do from there is you just take your knife and you go all the way around, and make sure you don't skip any spots. That cambium has to be scraped off. And so you just go all the way around, and you just scrape it really good. Oops, sorry about that, guys. There we go. And I've got it scraped real well. And then what you do is you just kind of take some of this shavings and just do that. And then what I'll typically do too, which kind of helps my success a little bit, is I'll just score around and just expose the cambium above and below, just kind of like what you would do with a cutting. So now that I've got my score marks, I can go ahead and apply my rooting hormone, and I'll just kind of clean this up just a little bit here as well. Any stragglers for the scraping process, just kind of clean that up just a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. One thing I did fail to mention, and I didn't show it, I didn't have it out here for some reason, is the rooting hormone. You can pretty much use all kinds of rooting hormones. I don't have any affiliation with this brand, but this is a very, very good rooting hormone. I personally wouldn't use any other, and so this is what I'm going to use. And so that's where the paintbrush comes in handy. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this bottle opened. It's a brand new bottle, so I just have to open it here. And once I have it open, I'm just gonna go ahead and dip my paintbrush into the rooting hormone, and then I'm just gonna apply it very liberally on the cut section, but also a good ½ inch above and below as well, where these score marks are. And if you get a couple other nodes, such as the one below, then that's fine too. That's even better. So just apply this pretty liberally all the way around. Make sure you get every single spot, just like so. And then I'll just kind of take a quick look around and make sure I got it, which it looks really well. And so there's the application of the rooting hormone. And now I'll go ahead and put on the baggie. Okay, so putting the medium into the baggie itself, I'm doing this one hand at this point. So what you want to do is you just want to grab a really good handful, and this is kind of sitting in water. So when I go to put it in the bag, I don't want to put it in just like this because it's so saturated that it may cause mold within the bag. So you just want to squeeze it and get all that moisture out, and then you would put this squeezed portion inside of the bag. It's still moist, but it's not saturated. And so you would just want to fill the baggie up completely once you squeezed all the moisture out of it. And so I'll go ahead and fill the baggie, and then I'll show you what I do next. All right, I have the baggie filled, and so now that I've got it here on the ground, once again I'm doing this one-handed, but you just want to score the center of the baggie because it's going to wrap around the branch. And so you just take your knife and you just make an incision going down the baggie just like so. See, I don't think I did it strong enough. Kind of difficult to do this one-handed. Usually I can put some pressure on it and just get right through it, but and once the bag is scored, then I just kind of push. Let me see if I can show you. I'll push the medium inwards to where I've kind of got a little alcove right here where it's going to wrap around the branch itself. So if you just kind of push the medium like that, and then what I'll do is I'll just pick this up and I'll wrap it around the branch. So let me show you that. And also just have your mechanical tape handy, and actually if you wanted to just undo you know, a few little strips and just keep them, I kind of tape them to my leg. That way you're not fumbling around for tape once you've got the baggie around the stem. This is why I use the baggie method. It just makes this step so much easier versus having cellophane and tying strings around it. It's a hassle, whereas this is just so easy to do. So you just put it around, you just kind of make sure the plastic is not inside, and you just kind of wrap it around and just kind of push it like that. Make sure the stem's really nice and in there. And I'll grab one of these pieces of tape that I taped to my leg, and I'll just do one at the top, one at the bottom. You don't want it super tight. You want the soil in here to have a little bit of play, so don't make it super tight where it's really compacted, because it makes it harder for the roots to root out. So it wouldn't be totally critical, but it's just a step that may help your success a little bit. And there we go. And so I've got 3 pieces of tape. Let me zoom you out here just a bit. As you can see even where I cut it there, the baggie's still kind of at the base here. So it's a little bit lower than what I'd hope. I'm just gonna try to push it up just a little bit there. And then at this point, I will grab some aluminum foil. And I just more or less just put the foil over the cutting. You want some foil above and below the cutting as well. Or not the cutting, I'm sorry, the air layer. And so I just kind of put the air layer right into the center of this tin foil. And then what I do at the top, I'll just twist it, kind of like a candy wrapper. And then at the bottom, I'll twist it. Let me get this in there. Just like so. And that kind of holds the tin foil on place. And so that's really all you have to do. And then I'll just kind of, you know, compact the tin foil over the air layer just a bit. Nothing too dramatic, but just to make sure it stays in place and that tinfoil isn't going anywhere. And that's all there is to it, my friends. And so I'll just rinse and repeat this process about 50 to however many times until I'm just absolutely sick and tired of air layering. I usually spend, you know, maybe a week or 2 doing this, and this is really how I propagate most of the plants from my home nursery. And so, like I said, this works really well on a lot of the trees that don't do well with cuttings. They'll do well with air layer, and so it's a good way to air layer a lot of those ones that are really hard to do with cuttings. Can't propagate it by cutting, then I'll usually do it by air layer. And so it's just trial and error. It takes experience to know what works with air layer and what works with cutting propagation. And so but this is a fantastic technique. I would highly encourage you to try it out. And if you have any questions below, feel free to ask any questions. If we're doing these at different periods of time. Like I do all mine in April, so I know exactly when I've done them. But if you are doing some, say, in spring and fall, maybe it would be a good idea just to mark the date that you've put this air layer in place, so you know exactly when it is. There's no rhyme or reason when they start rooting out. I've had them root out in as little as 2 or 3 weeks, and I've had some take as long as 6 months. And so these air layers will stay on until next season, until I go to air layer again. And I'll periodically check on them throughout the year, but if they don't air layer, then I'll just leave them on there until next season. And then next season, if that air layer didn't take, then I'll take it off at that point, and maybe even try to do it at a different spot on that same branch. So that's just more or less how I do it here. So I hope this video had helped you out, and I certainly appreciate you stopping in and checking this video out today. I certainly appreciate you checking out this channel as well, and I hope you have a great day today and many green thumbs. God bless and take care. Bye-bye.